The moment I saw my mother's name flash across my phone screen at 2:37 in the morning, I knew something was terribly wrong. My mom never called late. She was the type of woman who believed anything past 9 at night was an emergency. And right now, it was way past 9. But it wasn't my mother's voice on the other end. "Is this Sarah Mitchell?" a woman asked, her tone professional but gentle in that way that makes your blood run cold. "Yes, this is Sarah." "Ma'am, I'm calling from Memorial Hospital in Chicago. Your mother, Patricia Mitchell, was brought in about an hour ago. She's in critical condition. You need to get here as soon as possible." The room started spinning. I remember gripping the edge of my nightstand so hard my knuckles turned white. My husband, David, was snoring beside me, completely oblivious. The bedroom felt suffocating suddenly, like the walls were closing in. "What happened?" I managed to whisper. "She suffered a massive stroke, ma'am. The doctors are doing everything they can, but you should come now." Those words, "you should come now," everyone knows what that really means. It means hurry up before it's too late. It means this might be goodbye. I hung up and just sat there in the darkness for what felt like forever, but was probably only 30 seconds. My mother. My rock. The woman who raised me all by herself after my dad walked out when I was 7. The woman who worked 3 jobs just so I could go to college. The woman who never once complained, never once made me feel like a burden. And now she was fighting for her life. I jumped out of bed and started throwing clothes into a bag. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely zip it closed. "David," I said, shaking his shoulder. "David, wake up." He groaned and rolled over. "What? What time is it?" "It's my mom. She's in the hospital. It's bad. I need to go to Chicago." He blinked at me, still half asleep. "Chicago, right now." "Yes, right now. She had a stroke. They said I need to get there as soon as possible." David sat up slowly, running a hand through his hair. And I swear the first thing he did was check his phone. Not reach for me, not offer comfort. He checked his phone. "Okay," he said after a moment. "So you're driving." "I'll take the first flight I can get. There's gotta be something leaving from JFK in the next few hours." "All right," he yawned. "Let me know when you land." That was it. That was his response. His mother-in-law was dying, and all he had to say was, "Let me know when you land." But I didn't have time to process how cold that felt. I didn't have time to think about how wrong it was that my husband of 8 years didn't even offer to come with me. I just grabbed my bag, my charger, and my wallet, and I was out the door. The drive to JFK was a blur. New York streets at 3 in the morning are eerily quiet. The city that never sleeps actually does sleep sometimes, apparently. I found a flight leaving at 5:45, and I paid whatever ridiculous price they wanted. I didn't care. I would have paid $1 million to get to my mother. On the plane, I tried to sleep but couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my mom's face. I saw her smile, the way her eyes crinkled at the corners when she laughed. I saw her hands, worn and weathered from years of hard work, but always gentle when she touched my face. I texted my brother, Michael, who lived in California. He said he'd try to get a flight out, but he had some work thing he couldn't miss. Try. That word made me want to scream. Our mother was dying, and he'd try. I texted my sister, Emily, who lived just 30 minutes from the hospital. She didn't respond for hours. When she finally did, all she said was, "Keep me updated." Keep me updated, like I was giving her the score of a football game. I landed in Chicago at 7:15, grabbed a cab, and was at the hospital by 8. The ICU was on the 4th floor, and the walk from the elevator to her room felt like the longest walk of my entire life. And then I saw her. My mother, my beautiful, strong mother, lying in that hospital bed, hooked up to machines, tubes everywhere, looking so small. She had always seemed larger than life to me. Even at 63, she had more energy than women half her age. She was always moving, always doing something, always taking care of everyone else. But now she looked fragile, breakable. I pulled a chair up to her bed and took her hand. It was warm, thank God. She was still here. She was still fighting. "I'm here, Mom," I whispered. I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. The doctors came in and explained everything. The stroke had been severe. There was bleeding in her brain. They had done emergency surgery to relieve the pressure, but the next 48 hours were critical. She might wake up. She might not. And if she did wake up, there was no telling what kind of damage there would be. I asked them questions I didn't really want answers to. I signed forms I barely read. And then I sat back down beside her and held her hand. Hours passed. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I just sat there talking to her, telling her stories about when I was a kid, reminding her of all the good times we'd had. I told her about the time she taught me to ride a bike and I crashed into Mrs. Henderson's rose bushes. I told her about the time she made me that ugly homemade Halloween costume and I was so embarrassed. But looking back, it was the best costume I ever had because she made it with love. I told her she couldn't leave me. Not yet. I wasn't ready. Around noon, I finally checked my phone. There were a few messages from friends who had seen my social media post, a couple of coworkers wishing me well, and then there was a text from David. How's she doing? 3 words, no heart emoji, no I'm thinking of you, no I wish I could be there. Just how's she doing, like he was asking about the weather. I typed back, still critical, doctors say next 48 hours are important. His response came 20 minutes later. Okay, keep me posted. Keep me posted. The same thing my sister said. What was wrong with everyone? I put my phone away and focused on my mom. She was the only person who mattered right now. By the evening, I was exhausted. The nurses kept telling me I should go to the hotel, get some rest, but I couldn't leave her. What if she woke up and I wasn't there? What if something happened and I missed it? I called Michael again. He said his work thing got extended and he couldn't get a flight until maybe the weekend. Maybe. The weekend was 4 days away. Our mother might not make it 4 days. I called Emily. She said she had a lot going on and would try to stop by tomorrow. Try, that word again. She lived 30 minutes away, 30 minutes, but she'd try. I sat there in that hospital room, surrounded by beeping machines and the smell of antiseptic. And I had never felt more alone in my entire life. Around 10 at night, my phone buzzed again. David. But this time, it wasn't a check-in about my mom. Oh no, this time it was something else entirely. Hey, I need you to send me $15,000. Like now, it's urgent. I stared at that message for a solid minute, convinced I was reading it wrong. My mother was in the ICU, fighting for her life, and my husband was asking me for $15,000. Urgent. I typed back, what are you talking about? What's this for? His response came fast. Can't explain right now, just send it. Wire transfer to the account I'm gonna text you. Do it tonight. My hands were shaking again, but this time it wasn't from fear. It was from anger. David, my mom is dying. I'm not sending you $15,000 in the middle of the night without knowing what it's for. Sarah, I don't have time for this. Just do it. I'll explain later. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. I was literally sitting next to my unconscious mother, watching her fight for every breath, and he didn't have time for this. Something inside me snapped. But I didn't respond. Not yet, because suddenly everything started clicking into place. All those late nights David had been working, all those business trips. The separate credit card he said was just for work expenses. The way he'd been distant for months, maybe even years. I had been so busy with my own life, so focused on my job and my mom, and keeping everything together, that I hadn't seen what was right in front of me. My husband was hiding something, and I was about to find out exactly what. I put my phone down and looked at my mother. Even unconscious, she seemed to give me strength. She was a fighter. She had always been a fighter, and she raised me to be one too. I'm gonna figure this out, Mom, I whispered. And when I do, I promise you I'm gonna make it right. The next morning, I called my best friend, Olivia. She was the one person I could always count on. We'd been friends since college, and she knew me better than anyone. She also happened to be a forensic accountant who specialized in uncovering financial fraud. Sarah, slow down, she said after I explained everything. He just randomly asked you for 15 grand. No explanation. Nothing. Just said it was urgent and to wire it to some account. That's insane. Do you even have $15,000 to send? We have savings, yeah, but it's in a joint account. And honestly, I've been so checked out lately, I don't even know what's in there anymore. Can you log in and check? I pulled up the banking app on my phone while keeping it pressed to my ear. I typed in my password and waited for the screen to load. When it did, my heart stopped. Olivia, I breathed, our savings account. It had almost $200,000 in it. From my inheritance when my grandma passed, plus years of saving. It's all gone. Gone? What do you mean gone? I mean gone. There's barely $3,000 left. Silence on the other end. Sarah, Olivia finally said, her voice deadly serious. Where did the money go? I don't know. There are all these transfers to accounts I don't recognize. Different amounts, over the last 6 months. Can you send me screenshots of all those transactions? Yes, I'll do it right now. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely take the screenshots. $200,000, my grandmother's inheritance. The money I had been saving to buy a house one day. The money I thought was our future. Gone. And my husband was asking me for $15,000 more. What had David done? Listen to me, Olivia said firmly. Do not send him that money. Do not confront him yet. Let me look into this first. I'm gonna find out where that money went and who has it. Can you trust me? Of course I trust you. Good. Now go be with your mom. I'll call you when I have something. I hung up and tried to focus on my mother, but my mind was racing. How could David do this? How could he steal from our own family? And what did he need $15,000 for so urgently? My phone buzzed again. Him. Did you send it yet? I wanted to throw my phone against the wall. I wanted to scream. But I took a deep breath and typed a response I never thought I'd ever have to type. I need more time. Tomorrow. Tomorrow's too late. I need it now, Sarah. Why? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, I got into some trouble. Okay, just help me out here. You're my wife. You're my wife. As if that meant I was obligated to bail him out of whatever mess he'd created. As if our marriage vows included covering up his secrets. What kind of trouble? I asked. No response for almost an hour. Then's gambling, okay? I've been gambling, and I owe some people money. Bad people. They want it by tomorrow or things are gonna get ugly. Gambling. My husband had been gambling away our life savings. I sat there, staring at that message, and I felt something shift inside me. All the love I had ever felt for David Mitchell, 8 years of marriage, 8 years of building a life together. It all started crumbling like a sandcastle in the tide. He had lied to me, stolen from me. And now, while my mother was fighting for her life, he was begging me to bail him out of a hole he'd dug himself into. But I wasn't going to explode. Not yet, because my mother taught me something important a long time ago. She taught me that revenge is a dish best served cold. And right now, I was the coldest I had ever been. I'll see what I can do, I typed back. And then I put my phone down and started planning. The next 2 days were the hardest of my entire life. My mother was still unconscious, still fighting. The doctors said there were small signs of improvement, little things that gave me hope. Her brain swelling was going down. Her vitals were stabilizing. But she still hadn't opened her eyes, and every hour that passed felt like an eternity. I barely left her side. I slept in the chair next to her bed, ate vending machine food, and showered in the tiny hospital bathroom down the hall. The nurses started bringing me extra blankets and sneaking me coffee from the staff room. They could see I wasn't going anywhere. Meanwhile, David kept texting. Did you figure out the money yet? Sarah, this is serious. These guys don't play around. Why aren't you answering me? I'm your husband. You can't just ignore me. I read every message but didn't respond to most of them. I was buying time, because Olivia was digging, and what she was finding was worse than I ever could have imagined. On the 3rd day, She called me with an update. Sarah, you sitting down? I'm always sitting down. I live in this hospital chair now. Okay, so I traced all those transfers from your savings account. Most of them went to online gambling sites. Just like David said, but here's the thing, not all of them. My stomach tightened. What do you mean? About $60,000 went somewhere else, to a private account under a different name, a woman's name. The room started spinning again. What woman? Her name is Jessica Palmer. Ring any bells? Jessica Palmer, Jessica Palmer. I searched my memory trying to place the name, and then it hit me like a freight train. That's his coworker, I whispered. She works at his firm. I met her at the company Christmas party last year. Young, blonde, couldn't stop laughing at everything David said. Yeah, well, she's been receiving regular payments from your husband for the past 8 months. 5,000 here, 10,000 there. Adds up to about 60 grand total. I closed my eyes and leaned back in my chair. Of course there was another woman. The gambling wasn't enough. The lying wasn't enough. He had to be cheating too. There's more, Olivia said carefully. How can there possibly be more? I did some digging on Jessica Palmer, found her social media. Sarah, she's pregnant. The words hit me like a physical blow. Pregnant. This woman, this Jessica Palmer, was pregnant, and my husband had been sending her $60,000 of my money. How far along? I heard myself ask, my voice sounding like it belonged to someone else. Based on her posts, looks like about 6 months. 6 months. David and I had been trying to have a baby for 3 years. 3 years of disappointment, of negative pregnancy tests, of him telling me it would happen when the time was right. And this whole time, he was getting another woman pregnant. I couldn't breathe. I literally could not breathe. Sarah, are you okay? No, I said honestly. I'm not okay, but I'm gonna be, because I'm gonna destroy him. That's my girl. Now listen, I've got everything documented. Bank records, transfer receipts, timestamps. If you want to take this to a divorce lawyer, you've got enough evidence to bury him. I want more than that, I said, my voice cold and steady. I want him to feel what I'm feeling right now. I want him to lose everything. Then let me keep digging. There might be more we don't know about yet. Do it, find everything. I hung up and sat there in the silence of my mother's hospital room. The only sounds were the beeping of her heart monitor and the soft whoosh of the oxygen machine. I looked at her face, peaceful in sleep, and I made a decision. I wasn't going to fall apart. I wasn't going to cry and beg and ask David why. I was going to handle this like my mother would handle it, with strength, with dignity, and with absolutely no mercy. My phone buzzed, David again. Sarah, I'm serious. These guys are threatening me. I need that money today. I took a deep breath and typed back. I'm working on it, but the bank is giving me trouble because it's such a large amount. I need until Friday. It was Wednesday. That gave me 2 days. Friday, I don't have until Friday. That's the best I can do. Tell them you'll have it Friday. A long pause, then, fine, but if anything happens to me, it's on you. I almost laughed out loud. If anything happens to him, it's on me. This man had stolen almost $200,000 from me, gotten another woman pregnant, and was now blaming me for his problems. The audacity was almost impressive. I put my phone away and focused on my mom. That evening, something miraculous happened. I was holding her hand, talking to her about nothing in particular, when I felt her fingers twitch. Just the slightest movement, barely noticeable, but I felt it. Mom, can you hear me? Her eyelids fluttered, just a little, just enough. Nurse, I yelled, jumping up. Someone get in here. The nurses rushed in, followed by the doctor on call. They checked her vitals, shined lights in her eyes, asked her questions. And slowly, beautifully, my mother started to wake up. It wasn't a dramatic movie moment where she sat up and started talking. It was gradual, like watching the sun rise. First her eyes opened, unfocused and confused. Then she started responding to commands, squeezing fingers when asked, blinking on cue. By midnight, she was able to whisper a few words. The first thing she said was my name. Sarah. I burst into tears. All the strength I had been holding onto, all the coldness I had built up, it all melted away in that moment. I collapsed beside her bed and sobbed like a baby. I'm here, Mom. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. She lifted her hand, weak and trembling, and touched my hair. My girl, she whispered. My sweet girl. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. She had a long road ahead of her. Physical therapy, speech therapy, months of recovery. But she was alive. She was awake, and she was going to be okay. I stayed with her until she fell asleep again, this time a natural sleep, not a coma. And when I finally stepped out into the hallway to get some air, I checked my phone. 17 missed calls from David. 23 text messages, each one more frantic than the last. Sarah, where are you? Pick up the phone. This isn't funny anymore. They came to the house. They came to our house, Sarah. I'm not safe. I had to leave. I'm staying at a hotel. Please, please, please just send the money. I read through all of them with a strange sense of detachment. This man who had betrayed me in every possible way was now begging me to save him. And the old Sarah, the Sarah who loved him, who trusted him, who believed in their marriage, she might have done it. She might have emptied what was left of their savings and sent it to him, just to keep him safe. But that Sarah was gone. In her place was someone new, someone harder, someone who had watched her mother almost die while her husband gambled away their future and impregnated another woman. I typed a simple response. I'll have the money Friday, like I said. Then I turned off my phone and went back to my mother. Thursday was a good day. My mom was more alert, able to stay awake for longer periods. We talked, really talked for the first time in months. I told her about work, about my friends, about the little things I had been too busy to share. I didn't tell her about David, not yet. She was still too fragile, and honestly, so was I. That afternoon, my brother Michael finally showed up. He walked into the room looking exhausted and guilty, carrying a bouquet of flowers that were already starting to wilt. Hey, Mom, he said, leaning down to kiss her cheek. Sorry it took me so long to get here. She smiled weakly and patted his hand. You're here now. That was my mother, always forgiving, always understanding, even when people didn't deserve it. Michael pulled me aside later, out in the hallway. How bad was it, really? She almost died, Michael. She was in a coma for 3 days. He had the decency to look ashamed. I know, I'm sorry. Work was just. Work is always just something, I interrupted. Mom almost died, and you couldn't get on a plane. That's something you're gonna have to live with. He didn't argue. He just nodded and looked at the floor. My sister Emily showed up about an hour later. She breezed in with a designer bag and a grand latte, looking like she was stopping by on her way to brunch. Oh my God, Mom, you look so much better, she exclaimed, completely ignoring the fact that she was seeing our mother for the first time since the stroke. I was so worried. I wanted to come sooner, but things have just been crazy, you know. I wanted to strangle her. I really did. But I held it together because my mom was smiling, happy to have all her children in one place. That night, after Michael and Emily left, my mother reached for my hand. What's wrong, sweetheart? She asked, her voice still weak but her eyes sharp as ever. Nothing, Mom. I'm just tired. Don't lie to me. I've known you for 34 years. Something's wrong. Is it David? I shouldn't have been surprised. My mother had always been able to read me like a book. Yeah, Mom, it's David. Tell me. And so I did. I told her everything. The gambling, the stolen money, Jessica Palmer and the pregnancy, the $15,000 he was demanding. All of it came pouring out in a flood of words and tears that I couldn't stop. When I finished, my mother was quiet for a long moment. Then she squeezed my hand with surprising strength. What are you going to do? She asked. I'm going to make him pay. She nodded slowly. Good, but Sarah, listen to me. Don't let anger turn you into someone you're not. Get your justice, get your money back, but don't lose yourself in the process. I won't, Mom, I promise. And remember, You are Patricia Mitchell's daughter. You are stronger than you know. Whatever happens, you're going to be okay." I leaned down and hugged her, careful not to disturb her IV lines. "I love you, Mom." "I love you too, baby girl." That night, I turned my phone back on and called Olivia. "Tell me you found something else." "Oh, I found something all right. Sarah, you're not gonna believe this." "Try me. I'll believe anything at this point." "David's gambling debts. The guys he owes money to. I did some research. The main guy he's been dealing with, his name is Vincent Marino. He's a bookie who operates out of Jersey. Been arrested twice for loan sharking but never convicted." "Okay, so David got mixed up with some shady people. That tracks. Here's the thing, though. I talked to a friend of mine who knows the scene. Apparently, David doesn't just owe Vincent money. He's been working with him, helping him launder cash through some kind of investment scheme at David's firm." I sat up straighter. "Wait, what? He's laundering money?" "That's what it looks like. The gambling might have started as an addiction, but somewhere along the line, David got in deep with these guys. Now he's not just a customer. He's a partner." Oh my God. It gets better, or worse, depending on how you look at it. If what I'm hearing is true, David's firm doesn't know about any of this. If they found out, he'd lose his job instantly. Probably go to prison too. I let that sink in. My husband, David Mitchell, CPA at one of the most prestigious accounting firms in New York City, was laundering money for a mob bookie. "Olivia," I said slowly, "I think I know exactly what I'm going to do." "I had a feeling you'd say that. What do you need from me?" "Everything. Every document, every transaction, every piece of evidence you've collected. Put it all together in one file." "Done. What are you gonna do with it?" "I'm gonna give David a choice, and either way, I'm gonna win." Friday morning arrived, and I was ready. I had spent all night preparing. Olivia had sent me everything she had, and I organized it into a neat little package of destruction. Bank records showing the stolen money, transfers to Jessica Palmer, evidence of the money laundering, screenshots of David's frantic texts, everything. I called David at 9 in the morning. He answered on the first ring. "Sarah, thank God, did you get the money?" "I need to see you in person." "What? No, just wire it. I'll text you the account number." "David, I'm not wiring $15,000 to some random account. If you want the money, you meet me in person. I'll be in New York tonight. Meet me at our apartment at 8. "Sarah, I told you, I can't go to the apartment. Those guys know where we live." "Then pick somewhere else. Somewhere public. I don't care. But if you want this money, you're gonna look me in the face when I give it to you." Silence, then, "Fine. There's a diner on 42nd Street. Marty's, you know it." "I know it." 8 o'clock. And Sarah, thank you. I know things have been rough between us lately, but you're really saving my life here." I almost laughed, saving his life. If only he knew what was coming. "See you at 8, David." I hung up and looked at my mother, who had been listening to the whole conversation. "You're really going through with this," she said. Not a question, a statement. "I am." She reached for my hand. "Remember what I said. Don't lose yourself." "I won't. But Mom, I need to do this. Not just for me, but for us. He stole our future. He stole Grandma's money. And he did it while lying to my face for months." "I know, sweetheart, I know." She paused, then smiled weakly. "Give him hell." I smiled back. That's exactly what I plan to do. I booked a flight back to New York for that afternoon. Before I left, I made arrangements for my mother's care. Michael and Emily both promised to check in on her, and I hired a private nurse to be there around the clock. I wasn't going to leave anything to chance. At the airport, I called Olivia one more time. "It's happening tonight," I said. 8 o'clock at Marty's diner. "You want me there?" "No, this is something I need to do alone, but I want you on standby just in case." I'll have my phone glued to my hand. "Sarah, be careful. David's gotten mixed up with some dangerous people." "I know, but right now, the most dangerous person in his life is me." The flight back to New York felt different than the flight to Chicago had been. A week ago, I had been terrified, desperate, rushing to my mother's bedside with no idea if she would survive. Now I was calm, focused, ready. I landed at JFK around 6 and took a cab straight to Midtown. I didn't go to the apartment. I didn't want to be anywhere David might have eyes on me before our meeting. Instead, I checked into a small hotel near Times Square and spent the next hour going over everything one more time. The documents were all on my phone, backed up to the cloud, and I had printed copies in my bag just in case. I had thought through every possible scenario, every way David might try to wriggle out of this, and I had a response ready for each one. At 7:45, I walked into Marty's diner. It was one of those old-school New York places, the kind with red vinyl booths and a counter where you could watch them flip pancakes. David and I used to come here when we were first dating, back when things were good, back when I thought I knew who he was. I picked a booth near the back where I could see the door and ordered a coffee. Black, no sugar, I needed to be sharp. David walked in at exactly 8 o'clock. He looked terrible. His usually neat hair was disheveled, his shirt was wrinkled, and there were dark circles under his eyes. He scanned the room frantically until he spotted me, then rushed over and slid into the booth across from me. "Sarah, thank God. Do you have it? Do you have the money?" I took a slow sip of my coffee before responding. "Hello to you too, David." "I don't have time for pleasantries. These guys are serious. I need that money tonight." "Sit down, relax, have some coffee." "I don't want coffee. I want the $15,000 you promised me." A few people at nearby tables glanced over. David lowered his voice, but his eyes were wild. "Please, Sarah, I'm begging you." I set my coffee cup down and folded my hands on the table. "Before I give you anything, I have some questions." "Questions? What questions? This isn't the time for." "It's exactly the time. You want my money, you answer my questions. Simple as that." He stared at me, and I could see him calculating, trying to figure out how much I knew, how much he could get away with lying about. Finally, he slumped back in the booth. "Fine, what do you want to know?" "Let's start with an easy one. How long have you been gambling?" He hesitated. "A couple years." "Try again." "Okay, maybe 3 years. It started small, just some sports betting with guys from work. Then it got out of hand." "Out of hand? That's one way to put it. Another way would be that you stole almost $200,000 from our savings account to feed your addiction." His face went pale. "How did you?" "I checked our accounts, David. Something you apparently thought I'd never do. $200,000, my grandmother's inheritance. Gone. I was going to pay it back. I had a system. I was going to win it all back, and you'd never even know." "A system?" I laughed bitterly. "That's what every gambling addict says right before they lose everything. Which brings me to my next question. Who's Jessica Palmer?" The color drained from his face completely. He looked like he might pass out. I don't know what you're talking about." "Really? Because according to my records, you've transferred about $60,000 to her over the past 8 months. That's a lot of money to send someone you don't know." She's just a coworker. I was helping her out with some financial stuff." "Financial stuff? Is that what we're calling it now? Because from what I understand, she's 6 months pregnant. Funny timing, don't you think?" David's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. No words came out. "Let me make this easy for you," I continued, my voice steady as steel. "I know about Jessica, I know about the baby, I know about the gambling, and I know about Vincent Marino." At that name, David's entire body went rigid. "How do you know that name?" "I know a lot of things, David. I know that you're not just in debt to Vincent. You're working with him, laundering money through your firm. How long did you think you could keep that hidden?" "Sarah, please, you don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly. You got in too deep with the gambling. You needed money, so you made a deal with some very bad people, and now those bad people own you." He was shaking now, actually trembling. "If Vincent finds out I talked to anyone about this." "Then you better hope he doesn't find out. But that's not really your biggest problem right now, is it?" What do you mean? I reached into my bag and pulled out a manila folder. I slid it across the table to him. Open it. His hands were shaking so bad he could barely grasp the folder. He opened it and started flipping through the pages. Bank records, transfer receipts, screenshots of his texts, evidence of the money laundering, everything Olivia and I had compiled. With each page, his face got paler and paler. Where did you get this? He whispered. Does it matter? The point is I have it. And I have copies, lots of copies, stored in very safe places. Sarah, please. If this gets out, I'll go to prison. My career will be over. My life will be over. You should have thought about that before you stole from me, before you cheated on me, before you lied to my face for years. He looked up at me, and for the first time I saw real fear in his eyes. What do you want? I want a divorce, uncontested. You sign the papers, you don't fight me on anything. Done, whatever you want. I'm not finished. I want the apartment. I want whatever's left in our accounts, and I want you to sign over your share of any assets we have jointly. Sarah, that's everything. I'll have nothing. You should have thought about that before you gambled it all away. Oh, and one more thing. You're going to pay back every penny you gave to Jessica Palmer. I don't care how you do it. Get a second job. Sell your car. Take out a loan. But that money is coming back to me. I can't. You can and you will. Because if you don't, this folder goes to your firm, and to the FBI, and to whoever else might be interested in your extracurricular activities. David stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Who are you? I'm the woman you should never have crossed. We sat in silence for a long moment. The diner buzzed with activity around us, people eating their dinners, laughing, living their normal lives. Meanwhile, my entire world was being rebuilt from the ground up. Finally, David spoke. The $15,000 for Vincent, what about that? What about it? If I don't pay him, he's going to hurt me, maybe worse. I considered this. Part of me wanted to let him deal with the consequences of his own actions. But despite everything, I wasn't a monster. I didn't want him dead. I just wanted him out of my life. I'll give you the $15,000, I said. Consider it a goodbye present. But David, listen to me very carefully. After tonight, you and I are done. You don't call me. You don't text me. You don't show up at my door. As far as I'm concerned, you don't exist. And the folder. As long as you keep your end of the deal, the folder stays locked away. But if you ever try to come after me, if you ever try to contest the divorce or cause any problems whatsoever, everything in that folder goes public. Understood? He nodded slowly, defeated. Understood. I reached into my bag and pulled out a cashier's check for $15,000. I had gotten it that morning, before I left Chicago. I slid it across the table. Take it, pay your debt, and then disappear. He took the check with trembling hands. Sarah, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything now, but I am. I never meant for things to get this bad. You're right, it doesn't mean anything. I stood up from the booth. Have a nice life, David. What's left of it? I walked out of that diner without looking back. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. The divorce went through quickly, just as I demanded. David signed everything without a fight. I got the apartment, the remaining savings, and a signed agreement that he would repay the money he gave to Jessica Palmer over the next 5 years. My lawyer made sure everything was airtight. My mother's recovery was slow but steady. She moved in with me for a while so I could take care of her during her physical therapy. We grew closer than we'd ever been. All those years of being too busy, too distracted, too caught up in my own life. I made up for them now. We had breakfast together every morning. We watched old movies at night. We talked about everything and nothing. One day, about 3 months after the divorce was finalized, she looked at me and smiled. You know what I'm most proud of, she said. What's that, Mom? That you didn't let him destroy you. You could have fallen apart. You could have let the anger consume you. But instead, you took control. You stood up for yourself, and you came out stronger. I felt tears prick my eyes. I learned from the best. She squeezed my hand. My sweet girl, you're going to be just fine. And she was right. About 6 months later, I met someone new. His name was James, and he was nothing like David. He was kind and honest and genuine. He worked as a high school history teacher and coached the basketball team on weekends. He wasn't rich or flashy or impressive on paper, but he made me laugh. He listened when I talked, and when he looked at me, I felt seen in a way I never had before. We took things slow. I was cautious, understandably, but James was patient. He understood that I had been hurt, and he never pushed me to move faster than I was ready for. One night, about a year after my divorce, we were sitting on my apartment balcony, looking out at the city lights. "Can I ask you something?" James said. "Anything. All that stuff you went through with your ex, do you ever regret how you handled it?" I thought about it for a moment. "No," I said finally. "I don't. I could have been cruel, I could have destroyed him completely. But I didn't. I got what I needed to move on with my life, and I let him deal with his own consequences. That feels right to me." James smiled. "You're kind of amazing, you know that." "I've been told once or twice." He laughed and pulled me closer. And sitting there, with the man who would eventually become my husband, looking out at the city that had been the backdrop for the worst and best moments of my life, I felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Peace. My mother made a full recovery. It took about 18 months, but eventually she was back to her old self, maybe even better. The stroke had scared her, made her realize that life was too short to waste on things that didn't matter. She started traveling, something she'd always wanted to do but never had time for. She went to Paris, to Rome, to Tokyo. She sent me pictures from everywhere, always smiling, always living her best life. Michael and Emily and I grew closer too. The scare with Mom had been a wake-up call for all of us. We made an effort to see each other more, to call more often, to actually be a family instead of just people who shared DNA. And David, I heard through the grapevine that he left New York, moved somewhere down south, started over. The last I heard, he was working at a small accounting firm and going to Gamblers Anonymous meetings. Jessica Palmer had the baby, a little girl, and David was paying child support. Whether he was actually being a father, I didn't know and didn't care. I had my own life to live. 2 years after that night at Marty's diner, James proposed. He did it on my mother's birthday with her watching, which made it even more special. I said yes without hesitation. We got married in a small ceremony in Central Park, surrounded by the people who actually showed up when it mattered. My mother walked me down the aisle, her steps steady and sure, her smile brighter than the sun. And when James and I said our vows, I meant every single word. Because I had learned something important through all of this. I learned that the people who truly love you don't just show up when things are easy. They show up when things are hard. They show up when you're broken and scared and don't know what to do. They show up even when it's inconvenient. David never showed up, not when my mother was dying, not when I needed him most. He only showed up when he wanted something from me. But James, Olivia, my mother, they showed up every single time. And that's how I knew I was finally exactly where I was supposed to be. So if you're watching this and you're going through something similar, if someone in your life is taking more than they're giving, if someone is betraying your trust and making you feel small, I want you to know something. You are stronger than you think. You are worth more than they're giving you, and you deserve people in your life who show up. Don't settle for anything less. Because at the end of the day, the people who truly love you, they'll be there when it matters, and the ones who aren't, well, they don't deserve a place in your story anyway. As for me and James, we're doing great. We bought a little house in Brooklyn, nothing fancy, but it's ours. My mother visits every Sunday for dinner. Olivia is still my best friend and the godmother of our first child, a beautiful baby boy we named Noah. And every night, when I tuck Noah into bed and watch him sleep, I think about how different my life could have been. How I could have stayed with David, could have kept sending him money. Could have let him drain me dry until there was nothing left. But I didn't. I chose myself. I chose my mother. I chose a future worth living. And now, looking at my son's peaceful face, feeling James's arm around my shoulder, knowing my mother is healthy and happy and living her best life, I know I made the right choice. Sometimes life knocks you down. Sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who hurt you the worst. But it's not about how many times you fall. It's about how many times you get back up. And me, I got back up, stronger than ever. My mother always said I was a fighter. Turns out she was right. And if you're in a tough spot right now, if you're feeling alone and scared and don't know what to do, just remember, you're a fighter too. Now go out there and prove it. The end.